Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. What we're going to be doing this morning is we're going to be going over an implement that we purchased for our John Deere tractor, and it's recently got a bad rap, and we're going to tell you why that's not necessarily the case, and we're going to show you it in action, so stick around. So the implement in question is this brush crusher by Westendorf. It's a grapple, and it's got a bad rap on YouTube and on the internet. There's a couple channels that'll tell you that this implement is terrible and it's going to tear up your tractor and it's just not worth the money. Well, I'm here to tell you that I completely disagree with that assessment. Now, when I'm thinking about purchasing an implement, or if I want to see one in action, there's two channels that I go to. One of them is Good Works Tractors. Courtney does a real good job at showcasing all the different implements out there in the market. He actually sells them, but he does a really fair assessment on them, and I really enjoy his channel. The other channel I go to is Tractor Time with Tim. He features also a lot of the implements. However, when it comes to the brush crusher, he's never showcased it on his channel. He doesn't own one. And he made a comment on one of the other guys' channels that was bad-mouthing the brush crusher, that those are the reasons why he does not endorse this product. Well, I think he's missing the point on the brush crusher, and him and I had a polite conversation on the internet, emailed back and forth or messaged or whatever we did. I think he got the assumption, or took the assumption, that I was saying this brush crusher grapple is better than other ones on the market. And I can tell you that's absolutely not the case. That's not where I was going with my conversation with Tim. Hands down, if you have a full function grapple with lift, tilt, roll, and dump, all that stuff, obviously it's going to be a better grapple, and you're going to have more options with that grapple. But where the brush crusher comes in is you don't need the third function hydraulic, and I'll explain to you a little bit what that is if you don't know. Now, the third function hydraulic is a whole nother hydraulic line that comes up here to the front of your tractor to operate a third function on your implement. Your first two functions are your lift up and down of your loader frame and the tilt of your bucket. Those are your two functions on a standard tractor. They're all controlled by this joystick right here. On a standard tractor, however, you don't have that third function, and normally right up here on this crossbar you'd have two remote connections to connect that implement, and you'd have another actuator, either an electric switch or a hydraulic valve, to operate that third function. Sometimes it's a post hole digger. With the third function grapple, it actually does the clamping of the grapple, and you still have your lift and your tilt and roll on your loader frame. However, on these newer tractors, everything is an option. They're taking cues from the automotive industry. You remember that tractors always used to come with rear remotes where you could run a disc or other implement that has a hydraulic ram on it with a second lever up here. We only have this one lever that controls our 3-point up and down. That is it. Normally back in the day, you would have two remotes back here, one in, one out, depending on which way you move the lever, and it would actuate different things back here that on the implements on the rear of the tractor. You can imagine somebody like me that's been driving tractors all his life, buying a new tractor and not having those remotes on the back. I was a little disappointed. Now, they say they do that so they can be competitive with the, what's the word I want to use? The lower priced tractors out on the market your foreign made tractors, although a lot of your Deere parts are made overseas. They say they need to stay competitive with like Coyote, Mahindra, and all them. So they cut back on some of the options so they can stay competitive. However, if you go look at a Coyote and Mahindra and all those, they have the rear remotes. So I don't know why that argument's going to fly. So I checked in with my local Deere dealership, and at the time, which was last year, it would have cost me an extra $1,200 to add the rear remotes onto the tractor. So that just wasn't in my price range, not in my budget. And if you have those rear remotes, it actually gives you some options where you can just get some longer hoses and control something on your loader frame with those rear remotes. You just run the lines all the way up and up onto the loader frame, and you can operate things on the front. And when you want to use it on the back, you just unplug those and plug in whatever you want on the back. But again, that wasn't in my price range. So that's where this brush crusher really shines. The brush crusher by Westendorf is the only grapple that you can get that does not require a third function. Now there are some with electric actuators that control the clamp. You do have to install a bunch of wiring and wire it into your batteries and add a switch, usually on your joystick, that you can control with your thumb or something like that. But if you don't even want to go that route, the brush crusher is your grapple that you want. So how this works, your bottom teeth down here are, they don't move hydraulically. They're kind of, I don't want to say fixed, because they do move. So if you put this thing down on the ground and you want to skate these along the ground, you can. You can lower your loader frame and these things will skate along the ground instead of digging in. Or you could keep them in the down position. You can kind of rake through, kind of pulling up roots and stuff like that. Now how this works is your tilt function on your loader is what actually closes your grapple. So when you want to clamp on something, you go into the pile or whatever you're wanting to clamp on with this thing open, and I believe right now it's in the wide open position. You push into the pile and then you rotate your tilt function forward, and that brings down those bottom or the top teeth, and they actually interlock with the bottom teeth, so nothing's coming out of there. And then when you take the items where you want to go, you go up to your brush pile or whatever, you open those top teeth, and then everything falls out of the grapple. Now, the problem that some people have had is they complain that stuff doesn't come off of the grapple. Well, I ran into the same problem, but you have to lower these teeth as far down as you can get them, and then you won't have that issue. So you can see these teeth have been in a different position before. So what I did is you just take these bolts out and you run them clear to the bottom. Now, the way they had them bolted before, the bolts were up higher on this bracket, and it's kind of deceiving. You can go lower than you think. You can take it clear down to these bottom 4 holes and just use the top 4 holes on the inside bracket here. And then you can see your bottom teeth are sloped and stuff will fall off of your bottom teeth. Now, the channel that I was telling you about where the guy was saying that this thing will tear up your loader frame, he was saying that this bump stop here that stops the bottom blade or the bottom teeth from going down, it rests up against your loader frame on the bottom. And he was saying it tears up this part of your loader frame. Well, I'm here to tell you, I put lots of hours on this brush crusher, and you can see there's no damage to my loader frame. Now, he also showed on his tractor where his JDQA pin here, which I haven't got connected yet, he just puts that pin in there, and that's what holds it on the JDQA. he was showing where his frame was all bent out of shape right here and pulled through, and this was all jacked up and bent. That's impossible to do unless you're really abusing your tractor. This system is made to where, like, even when you got a bucket on, you can put as much pressure as you want, pushing backwards and up and down. So my assumption is he was chaining something maybe to the brush crusher or to the bucket and pulling really hard in reverse. And the JDQA is not designed to do that. It will take a little bit. If it's a lightweight item or whatever, I've chained things to my bucket, but I chain them onto the front of the bucket, which puts down and back pressure on this joint, which is what it's designed to do. So if you watch that channel, it's not hard to find. Just look up brush crusher ruined my tractor or something like that. You can obviously see he's been abusing his tractor and using it incorrectly. All right, we've got it all done. We moved that whole pile that was in there. We've moved it over here to our burn pile location. You could see that I was able to pick up even little small items. You can use those little things like fingers and just pick all that stuff up. So one person's complaint on the internet was you can't lift high enough and still dump the grapple out. I hope I have proved him wrong here. If the tractor would lift it any higher, it would become really unsafe and really top heavy, and it'd be a flip over, roll over issue. But you can see the top of this pile is probably 7 foot, so plenty big. And if you wanted to get it taller, you just get up underneath here in the bottom and just roll that stuff up and make it taller. Now that's a fire. All right, the other complaint is that the brush crusher is not made heavy enough. Well, you can see here, folks, you can see the work that I did. I was running into that pile of logs pretty good to get a bite, and we don't have any damage. Everything's still looking good. No damage to the loader frame, folks. I think the other guy was abusing his pretty good. Now, one thing I've had happen before is if I've hit a pile really hard, like a big log, like this, even this one here, you can see it's got just a little bend to it. Big deal. Now, if I wanted to straighten that, you just tap it with a sledgehammer over a little bit and it's straight, but not a big deal. Now, could you imagine moving that pile by hand? Not me. So, also on the heaviness of the materials, the heavier you build it, the more cost you have to pass on to the customer. So again, price point, price point, price point. This grapple will do just about anything you need it to do, and it's affordable. I paid $1,800 for this grapple. I challenge you to find a third function grapple that's even close to that price range, or even one with an electric actuator. Now, that was last year's price. Also, if you're buying a tractor, you can get the implement rolled in on your financing. So if you can't afford to buy the implement outright, when you buy your new tractor, tell them you want that implement with it, and they'll roll it into your financing. So it's not quite as hard as an initial hit. Yeah, you'll pay a little interest, but when I purchased my tractor, John Deere had 0% interest on their loans because they want to move tractors. Now, obviously, if you're using a grapple, especially you're picking up big logs, if you can see in some of my other videos, I picked up some enormous logs with this. Always have some ballast. I have the heaviest implement that I have mounted on my 3-point, which provides quite a bit of ballast. We're going to get some rim guard pretty soon put in those tires, but it works great, folks. I hope you saw in the video that it does anything you want it to do. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you, even with these bottom teeth in their absolute lowest position, the upper teeth still bypassed by a lot. So you can pick up even the smallest of brush and you're not going to lose it through the teeth because they interlock. They also keep the load closer to the front of the tractor, so that maintains your lifting force, because the further you get out front, the less lifting power you have. Now, I am in no way endorsed by Brush Crusher. In fact, there's no endorsements on this channel at all. I tell it like it is. I am not beholden to anybody to give them a good review. If it's bad, I say it's bad. If it's good, I say it's good. Now, this brush crusher, I think it's a genius design. Whoever came up with it was really thinking, and it's really filled a niche for us small homesteaders. Now, the only two things I would actually recommend changed on this brush crusher, if this video ever gets back to Westendorf, which I doubt, but what I would do, in addition to not putting those serrations on those top teeth, you can see how far the top teeth bypass the bottom teeth. And that's on the lowest position that these bottom teeth can go. You can imagine if I had the teeth on the highest position, how far they would bypass. So with that in the lowest position it can, and you have this much bypass, you could change the angle of these top teeth on the top portion of this frame and not have them bypass so much. You could have them bypass maybe this far, and that would increase your opening when the jaws are opening. If you had this at a little bit different angle and it didn't bypass as much. This is kind of a waste right here. Yeah, you can squeeze some stuff pretty tight, but do you really need to? So just a suggestion. Now to my buddy Tim on Tractor Time with Tim. I'm not capping on you, brother. I love your channel and I'm going to continue to watch, obviously, and I recommend if you guys want to see implements in action, go to Tractor Time with Tim's videos. He does a real good job showcasing those. However, I think he missed the point with the brush crusher. There is a place for this in the world, and price point is a big thing for us small homesteaders. If you just can't afford the big grapples, this thing will get the job done. So Tim, go get one and use one. I hope it changed your mind. So also check out Good Works Tractors. Courtney does a real good job on that channel if you want to see implements. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy, my friends. We love you. Catch you later.